Most people believe that life is punishing them. In reality, it is often testing them just before the breakthrough they have been asking for. And that is usually the exact moment when almost everyone gives up, right before everything begins to change. Do you believe in destiny? Jung believed in something slightly different. He suggested that life begins to challenge you when your unconscious decides it is time for transformation. That is when the universe starts testing you, not as a form of punishment, but as preparation. If this process is misunderstood, you risk quitting at the very moment when change was about to happen. In this video, you will clearly understand how the universe tests you before reshaping your reality. So watch until the end, and make sure you are subscribed, because this video may be the sign you have been waiting for. Before we begin, I want to express genuine gratitude. I have noticed the channel growing recently, with many new people joining. I read your comments, and knowing that these videos are positively affecting so many lives truly matters to me. That has always been my intention, with this content inspired by Carl Jung. I am genuinely glad you are here. Now let's begin. You asked for change. You made plans, held on to hope, imagined a new chapter. Then suddenly life seemed to stop. Nothing moved. Everything felt stuck, as if time itself had paused. Take a breath. Stay calm. Because this is often the moment when the universe begins to test you. Not to decide whether you deserve change, but to see if you are prepared to handle the reality you asked for. Here is what few people mention. Before transformation comes silence. Before something new appears, there is emptiness. That emptiness is not punishment. It is preparation. There is a book I deeply appreciate that explores this idea clearly. The Kybalion, a classic text on the 7 Hermetic principles. It is dense and challenging, but necessary, because it explains what happens when everything seems to fall apart just before it comes together. One of its strongest teachings is the principle of rhythm. It explains that everything in life moves like a pendulum. It swings backward before moving forward. What feels like stagnation, pain, or loss is often simply the natural movement that comes before growth. Everything flows in and out. Everything rises and falls. The swing in one direction is matched by the swing in the opposite direction. Some rhythm is balance. What you are experiencing now may feel like rejection or delay, but it may simply be the pendulum preparing to move the other way. From Carl Jung's perspective, the encounter with the self occurs when the ego begins to break down, and that encounter changes everything. The self is not the image you present to the world. It is who you truly are beneath fear, defense, and masks. When the ego, the part that seeks control, approval, and protection, starts to weaken, something stronger emerges, your essence. This is a quiet turning point. You stop being controlled by external events because you have found stability within. The encounter with the self marks the beginning of freedom. And that is why life often tests you so intensely before this moment. It is asking whether you have the internal structure to live authentically, or whether you still rely on the illusion of control to feel safe. When life seems frozen, what is breaking down is not you. It is the false certainty you depended on. That is when the test truly begins. Will you resist again, or will you choose to trust this time? The test works by revealing what is still misaligned within you, not to punish you, but to release you. The old version of you no longer fits, but it will not disappear quietly. It needs to be exposed and confronted. When you begin to see this, your perception shifts. The silence no longer feels like abandonment. It becomes the space between who you were and who you are becoming. At this stage, Change begins internally, not externally. Often, what appears in your life seems opposite to what you asked for. You seek connection and experience distance. You want freedom and encounter restriction. You hoped for ease and face resistance. What is happening is simple. Before you live differently, life shows you where you still react the old way. A new reality cannot exist while old reactions remain active. That is why life, with sharp honesty, presents exactly what still triggers you. What provokes you reveals you. Rejection highlights unresolved abandonment. Boundaries expose lingering control. Absence shows where you still search externally for what must be built internally. Life places a mirror in front of you to show how you respond. The universe is not questioning your worth. The real question is whether you still react from fear, control, and urgency, or whether you can remain grounded even in uncertainty. This is one of the deepest tests because it focuses not on events, but on your response to them. When you stop reacting like your former self, the one who panicked, sought approval, or sabotaged progress, something shifts. A quiet pattern breaks. Even if no one notices, it brings freedom. You may not control what appears in your life, but you can choose who you are when it does. That choice slowly reshapes your reality. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you no longer react as someone trapped in the past. Even without visible results, this shift matters. It shows that change is no longer just an idea. It has become an internal state. And that is when something larger begins to move. Then, unexpectedly, deep pain may surface. Intense, confusing, and difficult to name. Doubt follows. If I am growing, why does it hurt this much? The answer is simple. This pain is also part of the test. The universe is not punishing growth. It is verifying it. It is checking whether your transformation is stable or still tied to the old. Pain acts like a gauge. It pushes out the last structures you would not release willingly. What is falling apart now is not you. It is what you have already outgrown. Confusion, fear, and emotional collapse are not failures. They are signs of an identity dissolving. The version of you that lived in constant alert, control, and approval-seeking is losing its grip. Jung said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." At this stage, acceptance is essential. Accept that it hurts. Accept that it is unsettling. Accept that it is clearing space. The ego will resist. It will warn that you are losing control. It will urge retreat into familiarity. The ego does not understand growth. It only seeks survival. But what is happening now is not rejection. It is refinement. You are being emptied, not abandoned. The reality you asked for requires space. Old patterns, stored emotions, and automatic reactions cannot remain in control. This pain is the final examination before the breakthrough. It asks whether you will return to comfort or continue trusting without certainty. Each time you choose to stay, even in confusion, you show readiness. Not because you eliminated pain, but because you walked through it. When you step away from your old life patterns, the test intensifies. The old self senses its influence fading and reacts strongly. It speaks in familiar warnings. You are not enough. This will fail. Go back to what feels safe. The universe allows this moment not out of cruelty, but wisdom. This is a critical point where many turn back, and where the new self becomes solid. Jung described the ego as a shell. It once protected you, but it is not who you are. The real self waits beneath it, and the ego does not dissolve quietly. Change begins quietly. When the ego starts to weaken, the shadow emerges, the part of you that you've hidden, rejected, or denied. In that moment, the universe asks, are you ready to stop running from yourself? This test is not theoretical. It unfolds in real life, through situations that tempt you to turn back, triggers that reveal old patterns, challenging conversations, solitary choices, and decisions only you can make. This is your opportunity to show real change. You notice self-sabotaging thoughts, yet you don't feed them. You feel emotional pain, but you don't run. You sense the urge to retreat, but you pause and keep moving. You become someone who no longer needs the comfort zone to remain whole. This is the sign the universe has been waiting for. Reality shifts not only when external changes occur, but when you already live as someone ready for the new, even if nothing around you has changed. That quiet, courageous inner response is the proof the universe recognizes. At this stage, the test evolves. It is no longer about enduring the pain of the old. It is about holding the energy of the new. Simply wishing for change is not enough. You must be emotionally equipped to sustain it. Imagine a glass filled with dirty water. No matter how much you want clean water, if the glass is full, there is no space for anything new. And if you cannot maintain the clarity, everything becomes contaminated again. The universe watches. Can you maintain peace in instability? Can you respect yourself when others do not? Can you stay true to your values without external approval? These questions are invisible but crucial, and life responds to your answers. Carl Jung explained that true transformation involves not only the conscious mind, but also the unconscious, the body, and the soul. The universe tests all of these levels. It doesn't care if you understand things intellectually. It wants to see if you live differently. This is why, despite internal effort, external progress can feel slow. The test has shifted from endurance to stability. Can you maintain your vibration even when no one applauds? Can you remain authentic even when nothing seems to change outside? This is construction, not punishment. The universe is calibrating your energy, preparing the field. It only releases what you are ready to hold. A new reality does not arrive to complete you. It arrives when you have already become capable of living in it without losing yourself. If it feels hard now, it doesn't mean change is far away. It means the universe is still preparing the ground. You. Keep showing up without guarantees, even when visible signs of change are absent. This is when one of the most difficult and subtle tests appears: the void. The reality you asked for seems absent. No doors open, no confirmation comes, and everything feels unfair. Yet the universe knows what it is doing. The reward is hidden not to punish, but to see if you have already found it within yourself. If your motivation still depends on external validation, you remain trapped in lack. That is why the universe withholds. Jung stated that the encounter with the self occurs when the ego collapses. The ego, reliant on recognition and results, will resist this silence. It may urge you to quit or find excuses, but the universe is observing something deeper. Can you already be who you say you want to be without recognition? This is the test of integrity and presence. Can you maintain your energy when no one is watching? Can you act with truth without an audience? Can you stay faithful to your beliefs without immediate feedback? Your inner world must be clean, steady, and whole, imperfect but real, before the outer world can begin to shift. At this stage, it may feel like nothing is happening, but everything is being reorganized behind the scenes. The universe is offering maturation, not absence. You begin to see that the true gift, was not what you were waiting for, but who you were becoming while waiting. You cultivate consistency without validation, clarity without certainty, and peace without answers. This grounded version of yourself is what the universe recognizes as ready. Not the one who demands or pleads, but the one who already lives as if proof is unnecessary. When you reach this state, reality begins to align with you. During this waiting, restlessness may arise. You feel you have done the work, yet time passes and external change is slow. Here, the universe tests whether you will panic or return inward. Waiting is not emptiness. It is a creative field. Many give up because they perceive nothing is happening, but something profound is occurring internally. Refinement. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This darkness is the space of waiting, where you stop chasing and begin walking with yourself. Initially, you may hope for an external sign, but gradually you realize it is about who you are becoming. While waiting, the universe observes your shift from control to trust, from demanding outcomes to surrender, from expectation to presence. Presence is powerful. In this space, you act as though you already have what you seek. You honor your energy, speak intentionally, move with awareness, and respond to your truth rather than external absence. This is spiritual maturity and authentic manifestation. The waiting becomes the place where the new begins to emerge internally, long before it manifests externally. The universe recognizes your readiness, not waiting for someone or something to validate you. You are present, having found yourself. Time ceases to be an obstacle and becomes part of your strength. You continue with less anxiety and more silence. Subtle shifts occur. Synchronicities, unexpected encounters, moments of lightness. External changes may still be limited, but internally, transformation is underway. You have learned to face what you once ran from. You endure the dark, comfort yourself without approval, and persist without confirmation. The universe observes every quiet choice, every act of resilience, every moment you resist old patterns. These silent transformations emit a new frequency, steady, clear, whole. That frequency begins shaping the reality to come. You may not have received what you asked for yet, but you have stopped begging, chasing, and sabotaging yourself. That alone is a powerful shift. It doesn't matter if no one else noticed. The universe did. And its response doesn't come just when you feel ready. It comes when you are already living as if you are. The new reality you've been waiting for doesn't arrive to change you. It arrives as a reflection of who you have already become. Even without obvious signs, life begins to respond differently. Not because the external world changed, but because you did first. At this point, one thing becomes clear. True transformation isn't about understanding everything with your mind alone. It happens when your body, emotions, and actions start moving differently. Even if your mind still hesitates, manifestation isn't about repeating positive thoughts or affirmations and hoping the world changes. That's only the beginning. The real shift occurs when you live as the person you aspire to become. Jung said, "You don't become enlightened by imagining light, but by making the darkness conscious." That darkness within you has now been acknowledged, felt, and faced. You no longer escape pain. You use it as a guide. This transforms your energy and shapes what you attract. The universe responds not to what you think, but to the energy you sustain. It observes your private frequency, the choices you make, the way you carry yourself, and how you navigate the world. Manifestation is existential. It unfolds when you inhabit the version of yourself you've been seeking, even before it manifests externally. You act with integrity before recognition, offer the love you wish to experience, uphold boundaries without guarantees, and live as someone who already knows their worth. The universe recognizes coherence when your energy, actions, and truth align. Then what once felt distant begins to approach, not as a sudden miracle, but as an inevitable result. You manifest what you are, not just what you desire. When your vibration aligns with the reality you asked for, it appears, because no barrier remains, only connection. Many give up here, thinking nothing is happening. But life is responding, and it responds most when you embody change rather than merely request it. Looking back, nothing you endured was wasted, not the silence, the delays, or the sudden endings. You were never forgotten, rejected, or left behind. See, you were being called to awaken a version of yourself that could only emerge under pressure. Jung said, "A life not lived is a disease from which one can die." The universe does not want you to merely survive in comfort and predictability. It wants you to live fully. Full living requires maturity. That is why the ground beneath you was pulled away, so you would discover inner strength. Why answers were taken, so you would turn inward. Why people left, so you would learn never to abandon yourself. These challenges were never meant to weaken you. They were meant to align you with who you truly are, with what you are now capable of sustaining. You faced all of this not because you were weak, but because you were ready, even if you didn't realize it. You kept moving forward despite fear. That choice, imperfect, shaky, tearful, was witnessed by life and by the part of you that had been dormant but now awakened. The universe doesn't deliver what the ego wants. It delivers what the soul is ready to live. Sometimes that requires delays, silence, and letting go of control. Growth occurs with every quiet choice. Every day you refuse to lose yourself. Every time you turn inward and persist without certainty. That is real evolution. It clears the path for everything that follows. If it still hurts today, it does not mean you failed. It means the process is ongoing. But now, you are no longer the person who started this journey, and that changes everything. Life responds differently to the one who is already transformed. Nothing was wasted, not the waiting, the pain, or the obstacles. The universe was preparing, refining, and aligning you. You walked through fire not to be burned, but to release what no longer belongs to who you are now. Everything that hurt guided you back to yourself. Each crisis restored something forgotten. Each loss removed what no longer served you. Each silence gave you space to truly hear yourself. Jung said, "The thing you need most will be found where you least want to look." You had the courage to look, even when it hurt, even when no one could see. You descended into the dark, faced the void, and did not give up. That choice, to remain whole while everything around you fell apart, was the clearest sign you were ready. Not perfect, but whole, honest, aligned. The universe witnessed every quiet decision, every withheld tear, every whispered, "I'll keep going," through fear. You no longer beg for miracles. You understand that you are the miracle. The new reality is no longer a distant promise. It arrives as the natural outcome of the person you've become. This person no longer seeks approval or proves anything. They live in truth, presence, and peace. This is the harvest, not only of what you asked for, but of who you became internally while waiting. If doubt remains, reflect on how far you've come. You walked through fire and didn't burn, you shone. And that shine is quiet, calm, and confident, grounded in the knowledge that nothing was wasted. Now what comes is not punishment. It is response, reflection, and harvest. If you resonate with this message, share below. I choose to listen to the signs, not run from them. That is a commitment to yourself, your truth, and everything being born from this moment. If this message impacted you, you can support the channel by clicking the thanks button. Your contribution allows the channel to grow with deeper, higher quality content and greater reach. Every support matters and is deeply appreciated. Thank you for walking this path with me. I'll see you in the next video.